our next speaker, before we give him the podium, we just have to remind him about time, because his wife has reminded him many times during this convention. So I'm sure by now he will keep to time, inshallah. So besides being the president of the IMA, he's also the chairman of the South African Muslim Network. And we have, in our panel today, we had somebody from Gaza. We had somebody that is working in Gaza with the Gift of Givers. And Faisal is one of our social activists, we can call him. So he aptly describes the different parts of this session. So his topic today is going to be Gaza, a mirror to our conscience and the badr of our times.
While Zakira is loading that video and PowerPoint, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I entitled this What We Can Do, but I really didn't know, and no one knows what Imtiaz is going to say because he does everything off the cuff. But I'm so going to just change a little bit around because Imtiaz has said very clearly, more bluntly than I would have, trying to be a diplomat. And that is how, we get upset when we see the Arabs use this word normalize. But I want to, you're ready with that video, Zakira?
You want to know where I'm getting the information that there are American citizens that are coming to Israel en masse to fight in this farce of a war that's obviously a slaughter? Here's where I got that information.
I'm from Palo Alto in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Hi, my name is Caleb from San Francisco. I joined the IDF about 2 years ago.
I arrived in Israel 4 months ago from Cape Town, South Africa.
I'm Shika Ross. I'm a lone soldier from Atlanta, Georgia.
Florida, USA, Tampa Bay.
My name is Eitan. I'm a private in the Knockout Brigade. I'm a lone soldier from Atlanta, Georgia.
I was born to be Israeli and couldn't think of any other way to be more Israeli than to join here.
My name is Harminder. I'm from Muslim State, Long I decided to join the IDF because growing up in a Zionist home with a Zionist family, I wanted to contribute, be active.
I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and something we take very seriously is hospitality. It's bringing people in and making them feel at home.
I'm Haley. I'm 25 years old. I grew up in New Jersey my whole life and moved to Israel just about 3 years ago.
I'm Yael, originally from South Africa. I came to Israel 3 years ago in order to draw into the army.
My name is Jacob. I'm 24 years old, originally from Orange County, California.
My name is Ariel. I'm from Clifton, New Jersey.
My name is Gideon. I'm 23 years old. I'm from Bergen County, New Jersey.
What's up, guys? Isaac here. I'm 25 years old from Naples, Florida, and I'm now serving in the IDF as a lone soldier.
I'm going to try and rush because we're short of time. The point of that was in that short clip you saw 2 South Africans. And I don't know if it makes you angry, but the whole point of what Imtiaz was saying is how does that translate your anger into action? I'm going to try and rush this. I'll put the PowerPoint slides up on the chat so it's more obvious. But the question is what Imtiaz told you what Gift of the Givers is doing, and clearly you know where to put some of your money. But the question is what we do. I spoke last night about all of us being influencers, right? And you have to ask yourself, as Imtiaz put it more bluntly, in our masajid, in our uruses, istimas, all of that, where's the activism? And it's up to you to go back and speak to the alims and the trustees and everyone else. Those people aren't shy to say, I'm from South Africa. Why are we shy? My son did an interview the other day in financial services, ironically for a Sharia compliant fund. And in preparation for interview, he looked up his interviewer. And this is for a Sharia compliant fund. And that guy has got all of his LinkedIn profile, all his support for Israel. I looked at some of the doctors. Jewish doctors, etc., Christian Zionists, it's up on their profiles. I'm going to Israel. They're not shy. I don't know. We have to ask ourselves, why are we? We speak about our risk. It is determined. We had the ophthalmology conference and the boycott that we asked for. Shoaib Wali attended on behalf of the IMA. But I can tell you the turnout from the Johannesburg doctors was very poor. Reshma Badal is here. Oh, you can change the slides, Zakira, sorry. Yeah. So there's 2 points I want to make. It's not a tafsir, but there's 2 words that stand out in the Quranic verse. Stand up firmly, stand out firmly. It's not a suggestion, it is a call to action. Next slide, Zakira. The next one though, Allah talks about not hating. So I want to be clear, we do not promote anti-Semitism, right? When we speak about the Jews in charge is also not promoting anti-Semitism. When we speak about Moni, we're not promoting hate against Hindus, etc., etc. But we have to be unapologetic, unequivocal, anti-Zionist. Clearly, when people walk into Cape Union Market, and we can move on, Zakira, next slide. It's self-evident what you can read there about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rather preferring a just state run by other people than an unjust state, and it is clearly referring to what is going on in the Middle East. Next slide, please. Okay. So there is a slide from the South African Zionist Federation. Next one. Right. So there are about 10 organizations, 10 different arms, and just spoke about this partly, dedicated to working Zionism in South Africa. And you can go look it up. It's on. I took this off their website. Right? Over 10. That's just the Zionist Federation of South Africa, not Friends of Israel, not the Israeli ambassador, not everywhere else. And it's open, it's there. Next slide. Yeah, a few more. Okay, this is the kind of work they're doing. They'll tell you there, 3,000-4,000 petitions they got to stop Leila Khalid, Stanton Drive been doing. They send letters to Discovery, they send members to their media, engaging the government. The kind of thing, like I said, I didn't have to speak after him, yeah? But next slide. Just more examples of their networking and their advocacy. Next slide. I think there's more examples. I was going to talk to each one of them, but clearly there's no time. Next slide. Okay, these are the 2 letters, one to Discovery, one to the Ophthalmology. So just to recap, we objected to the Ophthalmology Society bringing in the Zionist professor. And there was evidence that just how we did with Discovery, right? Or who brought in that organization linked to Israeli Defense Force. And they agreed to not bring the Zionist professor. Zionist Federation got in, lobbied, put pressure, etc. They brought the guy. Said I threatened them violence, etc. Organized security, made it a whole anti-Semitic issue. And this is the one I was referring to. And then we organized a little bit of a boycott outside the conference venue. But Muslims were not there to be seen. Our doctors were not there to be seen. And I have to ask you why. The Yawar Beg, so when I used to do the radio interviews, he always used to say that du'as for the battle of Badr were not made in Medina. The Prophet didn't say, right, boys, you'll go, I'll make dua from here. He mobilized, he organized whatever those 313 people were, whatever little armor they had, they went and they poisoned those wells, and the du'as were made on the battlefield. The equivalent of that is, where are we? Next slide. Okay, this was again more of the advocacy work. Next. This is Herzliya School, how they're organizing to send soldiers, the ones that you saw in the video. Next. Okay, quick one. That is the Zionist Federation's annual budget. The ones that, I don't know how much is visible there. I can barely see my slides, but it's 20 million. That's the budget for the Zionist Federation of South Africa. You can zoom in, go to their website. 20 million per annum. Dedicated to promoting Israel, lobbying, undermining the likes of Imtiaz and everyone else. Then if you want to more, go to the Biz News podcast. It's virtually run by the DA and by Hershoff. And you will see them openly advocating to undermine the president, to undermine the ANC. Now, Sheikh Asif spoke about the maqasid and the preservation of religion as one of the first priorities in their life and welfare, etc. You think they don't know that part of what Incha spoke about that he's doing, reaching out, making sure government knows? You think they don't know that part of the support is also the fact that Muslims who anti-apartheid struggle, they know some of the relief work being done, etc., all of the various organizations. They don't only have to undermine the Palestinian struggle, they have to undermine the very essence of your religion, because you put together the narrative to, Muslims are anti-Zion, anti-Jewish, we promote terrorism, that narrative, I'm a fervent, I suppose, Liverpool supporter, and when this footballer Shem died, the amount of emotional outpouring and WhatsApp chats over, sadly, obviously, 2 footballers dying in a car accident. But this is the emotional attachment we have to Wimbledon today, all the sports, etc. We know numbers. When Yaqub read out those numbers at the beginning just today, or a number of people killed, it's just numbers. But the emotional attachment is not there, and therefore the translation into our masjids. I've spoken about madrasas, art competitions, reviving the spirit, and clearly I'm running even more out of time now. But there's the budget for you, 20 million. That's just Zionist Federation. That is not the amount of money that's going A route, B route, C route to Israel in every other way. That is not. They're not telling you about the soldiers that they're sending, etc. Now, I often ask, what are we doing about the soldiers when they come back? In charge, I said it in a subtle way, but that's in charge. What are we doing as an organization? So, my point being, okay, we carry on, next slide. Again, Al-Sadiya school, how they're organizing stuff for Israel. So the question is, the schools are not shy, but we're not even teaching this in our Muslim schools. We're not advocating, Miraj, that's the end of Palestine. So whether you have to go tell your ulama, whether you have to tell your madrasa and your APA teachers and your urus and your khankas, Allah commands you that stand up firmly for justice. It's not nice to do. Next. Another one. Women Zionist Federation. Okay, carry on. I think I'll just speak to this slide without my notes. Okay, I'll try and get that. Yeah. Okay, so silence and complicity. We spoke about normalization. Kravitz, who owns K-Way, won awards for the most amount of money donated to Israel. Right? So when you walk into K-Way and you buy K-Way products, and there's a certain segment of our community that wholeheartedly supports K-Way, I hope the message goes out for 40 days. And an effort and struggle is required for success in this province and the other province. But that silence is abdication of our responsibility. Next, please, Zakira. I know Mohammed Raymond is going to really take off with me. So, in our homes, how much of us are spending time with our children, documentaries on the table, talking this, and then we expect consciousness to come? Setting the example in your homes about boycotts. Now, I know that the whole debate, 50 products, 60 products, impossible to sustain. It's about sustainability. Clover is wholly owned Israeli company. Tiva Products is a wholly owned. And we just told you today who else to support, who not to support. Sipla and Tiva. Sipla is not Israeli owned, but they distribute Tiva, which is an Israeli owned company. But he just told you what Aspen is doing. So, right? When the reps come to you, I tell the Sipla rep, I make sure we turn down 60,000 from Sipla for the convention. Just to give you an example of walking the talk. State Union Mark, yeah, we know that, and then Coca-Cola. Next, sorry. Zakira, next please. Yes, we saw that, and we spoke to Imran Asman. When we went to the council meeting, we saw Coke there. So, consciousness, even the fasting programs, the tarbiyah programs. not necessarily only about Gaza. We have become, just said it more bluntly, we passive. This is not we don't preach violence. Our religion doesn't teach violence, but it doesn't tell you to just passively pray only. Now, how do we translate this? You know, dua is the weapon of the believer. Every alim will tell us this on radio, news. But it's not only dua. Like I said, just be a bit more blunt than I would have liked to be, or can be. And he does it because he doesn't have to account to anyone. But it's the same thing. Ijtima, Urus, all of these programs. Why are they apolitical? And you're not asking them to take political sides. You're asking them to speak what the Quran commands. Your job is to now go back and ask these people to change. And to change yourself. Next one. Okay, money doesn't need much explanation, especially not the first line. You just spoke about this. You cannot be apolitical and rely on the ANC and everyone else to do what you should be doing. I'm not saying you have to become a card-carrying man, but you have to be seen in these places. You have to be, and we have to donate money strategically. We have to take the branch. I mean, for how the newer generation don't care about 50 years. Our own children don't remember what happened in apartheid. I mean, I'm in the township, right? And my room says all of these things. Young black kids don't want to know about Mandela. They don't want to know about Odessa and all of this. What is it for today? And the Zionists work at this level. That 20 million rand you saw budget of this is gone to this level. Working the new generation. Even now, I'm sure you've seen it if you listen to SM, etc. The younger generation are asking, you know, because what they're promoting is you're not getting trade because of the ICJ. You're losing AGOA and all the benefits of export because of the ICJ. Now, within the ANC too, they are being influenced. If Hamas is infiltrated and Hezbollah is infiltrated, you think ANC and EFF and everyone else, who's funded that? MK isn't. So, that has been, you just said it, strategic. Next. Okay, yeah. These events, where are we when these events taking place and why aren't we not here? How long are we going to say, okay, there's men and women mixing, is that the excuse? No one tells you not to stand on the side or anything else. Various excuses have been given for why people don't attend these marches. And none of them is honestly, really, truly acceptable. We created WhatsApp, right? On WhatsApp you will find all sorts of things. Translating it to action, we were short on, right? Next, Zakina, please. So if this 83-year-old woman can risk, and she's not Muslim, but she's a person of conscience, and that's what it does. Again, I didn't need to speak, as I said, just said in a few minutes what I'm taking so long to say. If she can stand in the UK, right, and risk arrest and harassment and everything else, honestly, what excuse do any of us have? Just within our homes and masajid and everywhere else, before we go even further. Wonderful WhatsApp groups, you'll see, they post videos, these two young girls, other day on the rooftop of one of the arms manufacturers in UK getting arrested. In Ireland, it's common over all these years. Ireland has been one of those countries, boycotts of goods, demonstrations in their football matches, singing. You'll see all of this, our people posting. And that's it. It's not translating into our own action. Next. Okay, so I've spoken to boycotts. This camp is another one. Like I said, you can't sustain 50. Pick 5, stick to it, make it sustainable. We spoke about Cape Union March. Next please. Kravitz. Just a quick summary of all of the things Kravitz has this is the owner of Cape Union March. Next please. Here we are. So clearly we need to collaborate. And by the way, Jakub, our chair today, is our IMA representative to FEMA, also our IMA representative in terms of relief and overseas projects. So he's the person to be seen, to know how you can get involved, what more we can do. And of course, he's also works with Gift of the Givers. The other things are what Imtiaz has spoken about, so I won't go through it and I'll post the slides. Imtiaz spoke about this collaboration, and I hinted about it last time, about getting into all of these other organizations, because you've seen it. Why is being silent from SAMA, SANAF, the Editors Forum, and on all those stats who are read about who's killed? Because they are there to block the narrative. We have to reclaim that narrative. We left the space all these years. We need to fill those spaces again. And it comes what Imtiaz has again said. You have to be available to take up those posts. We have become a nation of du'as, a community of dua. Honestly, if you really are honest about where we are. Yes, we post videos and clearly give some money for relief. This is nowhere near enough. The question is how to translate that into our youth to take risks. Are you the type of parent that there's a march, or are you going to tell your kids when you're going to visit, don't get involved, just go to Jamaat Khana and go to your classes? Or are you going to encourage them to get involved with the little bit of risk that comes with it? Next. Yeah, of course, it's not, people are going to, as Imtiaz said, it's a wasteland. We're going to have people come here, their families to be supported, their medical students to be supported. It's not just going to end with a bunch that are here now. It's going to be a long time before Gaza has anywhere restored to self-reliance. So it's a long road ahead. You need to be prepared financially, in activism, etc. Now, between the doctors, lawyers, architects, those of us who have rooms, right, and people sit there 10, 15 minutes, just on average, even us, 20, 30 patients a day through your rooms by 2,000 doctors. There's over 100,000 people a day that sit in a room, doctor, lawyer, architect, whatever, for 10 or 15 minutes waiting, sometimes even longer, looking at the walls. Pamphlets pick up and throw. So I'm working with someone in Imtiaz, one of Imtiaz's guys, to create a nice looking or nice portrait, and I'm not going to go down the discussion. Someone asked me what about the murad, it's your choice. But to have these frames, picture says 1,000 words. For the vast majority of our population, you don't have to tell them about apartheid. Just remind them, this Hector, this. So we're trying to organize this. Obviously, you can make a portrait out of it, you can make a frame out of it, in your rooms, just to remind people about the parallels between apartheid and what is going on now. It doesn't need long lectures or discussions from you. Just next, I'm almost done. So similar like this, right? Just 100,000 people a day throughout our rooms, looking at this and being reminded. No need to discuss anything. So this is something you can do. Put it up on your walls. And why are you being afraid? If you are afraid, you've got, before I forget, how many of us Google the people we're referring to? When this OSA thing was going on, the Muslim ophthalmologist that I was working with gave me the list of four ophthalmologists that were in OSA pushing the Zionist line, and told me the number of GPs in Joburg that sent patients to those ophthalmologists. Now, perhaps if there's no choice, but not just, this is what I tell the others as well on the other talks. How many of us now are going to take the trouble to first Google who we're doing business with? And if they're Zionists, there must be another alternative. If you think this is the only retinal specialist and there's nobody else, perhaps you can excuse it and say, okay, there's no other choice but to send my patient here. But if there is a choice, but how will you know unless you take the trouble to say, right, Kravitz or whatever, I'm Googling this specialist and see, is he a Zionist? Do I still want to be sending and I don't mean race-wise, I mean anybody. If he's a Christian Zionist, if he's a Hindu Zionist, if he's a Muslim Zionist, if he's an Arab Zionist, how do we make those small changes? When Lina spoke, I was telling myself, I'm sure all of us that have old bad habits are looking and saying, this is a lot of work to green our practices. And I'm sure she didn't use that cliche, a paradigm shift, but that's what it takes, right? If you're going to start adjusting how we do things, it really takes a mindset change. So does this, a mindset change. Money is plentiful, and just already told us that. Almost. Next, Akira, please. So, like I said, we kind of spoke to this already. Next. Yeah, this is important. Our goodwill is going to run out at some stage. Unfortunately, we don't have 500 Imtiaz Sulimans to carry on the political leverage and the goodwill. So we should be elections next year. There's social media. There's so much. Again, it's a cliche. It needs a mindset change. Okay, next. Yeah, so this is a very well-known quote. The other version of it, I think, is next up. Yeah, this is the better version or the better version of what Edmund said, but I mean, it's exactly the same thing. Next one. Yeah, so this is what it is. Controversy and discomfort. It will make you uncomfortable, especially in your colleagues. The Zionists aren't shy to promote genocide. In South Africa, 45,000 Jewish people, the bulk of them probably are Zionists. There's obviously some very good ones, etc., that work with us, work with Imtiaz. But they're not shy. Why are we? Next. That is what it is. We have to occupy Zionism. You know, we haven't made life uncomfortable. I'm almost done here. We have not made life uncomfortable for the Zionists in our country. Their lives carry on absolutely normally, with no shame. Rabbi Goldstein goes to Israel, posts all his videos, goes to government, shows openly he's giving those soldiers and he's blessing them and he's doing everything. They're not shy. Why are we? Next. Okay, those are okay, no time I want to explain what these do, but rather look at it yourself. The Coalition for Good is the one I was referring to that Imtiaz have people working with. But the Words of Justice has a very nice, I'll just speak a minute on this. If you see a tweet now from someone, you can go to this website, put it in there, it will give you the retort to that tweet. Even if you don't have the knowledge, the website will do it for you, where you can reply to a Zionist. It's a very effective jihad tool, this. You can do social media, you can get your children, you can get university students and everyone else to do this one. Vote for Peace is what Americans have done for the American politicians. In fact, I was something I'm talking to Chaz about, but we also we're talking to some 1 to IT people. It needs a bit of resources. We draw up the same lists